Hi guys, it's Amanda with Mama Bear Momentum. Um, I will go first for Speak Up Sundays. Um, I am 35. I have six kids, four that are biologically mine, and two stepdaughters from my previous relationship. So I have been a stay-at-home mom for the last 10 years. We have a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 13-year-old, 9, 7, 5 year olds, kids, and three girls, three boys. So kind of like the Brady Bunch. We started homeschooling in the start of COVID, and so I was homeschooling all of them. We, where to start? My ex, Eric, is a narcissist and just very manipulative, very abusive. The kids and I, always had to walk on eggshells. We never knew what would set him off. Lots of wordplay and like abusive, just, manipulation with his words and keeping us down. And sometimes it's really hard to express like the things that we've been through because it ends up sounding kind of petty, but it's not just like one time that he would say things or a couple times. It was this constant belittling, constant keeping us low and where he wanted us. And it's sick when you really look at narcissists and how they really look like 10 steps ahead. And everything was a game to him. And everything was done meticulously and methodically and kept us down where he wanted us. And, I had a previous marriage. I wasn't with him as long, maybe a year and a half. And I left when my daughter was 5.5 months. And I didn't at the time really like know the terminology of narcissists and all those things. I feel like there's been a lot more light brought to that recently, with all the social media. But he's also a narcissist and pathological liar, and so is Eric, my ex, my current recent ex. So having to deal with both of them has just been really overwhelming and hard. But I thought that I would never go through this again. I thought, that I would see the red flags, that I would know, signs of abuse. And I saw them and I ignored them. And I, heard things that Eric's ex had said and wrote. And I had seen Eric do those things. And so I knew what she had put in her blog posts was true. But I thought that if I was more, if I was better, if he loved me more, maybe he would change and maybe he would be better and different. And then I got pregnant with our son Josh, who's now 9, and I didn't want to have another divorce. I didn't want to have another be a single mom again and all those things. And I stayed, and I saw the abuse, and that was when Josh was like 1. He charged after my daughter Sherry, and who's now 16, and I got in between him, and I stopped, like whoa, what's going on? Stop what you're doing. And he took me and he shoved me against the hutch, and I learned then not to get in between him, and he would just rage. He would go from 0 to 100, and then he would do the yo-yo. He would apologize. He would say he was so sorry, that he was going to change. He was going to do this, and that to be better. And he would for a time being, I would see him really trying, for a few days, maybe a week, and then it would slowly dwindle back to what it was before. Addicted to video games. That always came first. Whatever he wanted, he got, he did. If he didn't want to come spend time with us, he wouldn't. And Um, it was always me doing all the housework, me begging him to help with the kids, begging him to get off his phone, off his computer to spend time with us. Um, and just more and more would be on my back. And then, if I ever reacted emotionally or whatever, it would, oh, I was being naggy, or I was being, the problem. I was just never happy. I was never enough. But it was like, I was always the bare minimum. And even then, I wasn't getting the bare minimum. Just like we had 6 children, and he thought his only job was to work, and I was expected to do everything else. And a few years back, his response to me is if I wanted help around the house, then I needed to go work with him at his job. And I thought that was crazy, because I knew that if I went and worked with him, I would then be raising 6 children, doing homeschool, taking care of the house, and working. So it was just like, I'm not going to add more to my plate, and I was being treated like I was asking for too much just by coming and helping with the dishes or help get the kids ready for bed. And whenever he would help me, he would blow it up and cause a bunch of drama and pain, and the kids would be sad and hurt and screaming, crying. And he basically trained me to not ask for help, because if I asked for help, it was awful. And so it was just more of a way to, I think, solidify that abuse. And I, sorry, I get interrupted by kids. Where was I? I was just trained to not lean on him through lots of different avenues. And it was always blamed back on me. Like I was irrational or whatever, just for asking for help, which is crazy. I should be able to ask for help. I stayed longer than I should have for years. And I am so grateful for my children, and I never wish them away. And I know everything happens for a reason, but I stayed too long. I stayed because of no money. He was financially abusive at the end. He would hold tight the money. I only saw what he wanted. Would put me in situations where I'd have to use my credit card. And then if I used the credit card, I would want to try and pay it down. And then if I tried to pay it off, he would tell me I was stealing his money. And, like it was supposed to be ours and doing this together. But it's just, over the years, he very meticulously, methodically put me straight in a corner to where I couldn't leave, and treated me however he wanted, because he knew I couldn't go anywhere. I stayed too long also because I felt like I had to be referee, because he would go from 0 to 100 on the kids. And there's times where I'd have to pull him off the kids when he was belting them or spanking them, or he always go above and beyond for any type of discipline. And so I felt like I had to be there so that I could keep him in line and keep my kids safe. Some people want to try and shame me for not calling CPS or whatever. And it's like, people who say those things have never been in my shoes. I wish that I would have called CPS, because I see now, like, I'm not trying with this man, but in the time that I was there and when it was happening, I was trying to make things work with my spouse, and he wasn't worth it. But, if I reported to CPS or the police, that would have just escalated things and made it so much worse on me and the kids. So I tried my best to keep the kids safe, and I just took more on my back so that I wouldn't have to lean on him, so that he couldn't have a chance to rage on them as much, and really just tried. And, one thing after another, we ended up breaking up because he went after our dog because she knocked down our 5-year-old. She didn't jump on him. She literally ran past him and knocked him down. And he got mad and went after her with a lightsaber to beat her. And I ran after her to stop him. And when I came around the corner, he was there. And I like patted his chest like, what the heck, like a football, like, come on, man, like, what the heck. And he blew that out of proportion that I was beating him and that it was escalating, which was not true. And just everything turned around on me. But that's how everything always has been. We decided to break up. I moved into the office. He told me that I had till May to move out, which was like a month and a half or whatever. And then the next day he told me, oh, I want the best for you. I have respect for you and the mother of my children. And I have a love for you. And you guys take as long as you need. Just find somewhere safe, find somewhere good. And I didn't want to be there anymore. It was awkward and uncomfortable. We started packing boxes. I was looking at rentals, but I, being a stay-at-home mom for the last 10 years, didn't have a work history. I didn't have experience. I had no savings. I had no way of doing anything. I had my grandma, and she agreed to be a co-signer and help where she could, but they don't make a lot of money and like only can do so much for us in our situation. And I was working with a domestic violence nonprofit that approved us for help with deposit and 3 months of rent, but I couldn't find a place because I didn't have a job. And I couldn't get a job because I have, had 6 kids at the time. We only had the 5 because one of my stepdaughters was with her mom. She didn't want to be around the drama anymore, but, I couldn't watch. No, I think she was there the first couple weeks when we were doing all the rental searching because my grandma was there in town. So yeah, like I don't know how I was supposed to get a job and raise 6 kids, and no one wanted to rent to me. Like I went to like 50 places. I swear to God, like 50 places and applied and saw, and no one wanted to touch me. And even with the promise of 3 months rent paid for by the stand-up Placer and those programs, just didn't work. And then my grandma left and back to her hometown in St. George, and I was there with the kids. And then Eric started acting really erratically, and I thought he was just emotional from the breakup, but looking back now, I can see that he was starting to do his mental slip, being really overwhelming, just emotionally, love bombing the kids, and just like, not, like, he's trying to make it like, oh, that I'm not okay with him loving on the kids, which is ridiculous because I'm absolutely for it. I've begged for it for years. But when you have someone who never loves on the kids to this huffing and this puffing and this holding him and like over dramatic crying, and just like he was love bombing them and like super emotional over them and really freaking the kids out, and I didn't know what to do. And the kids would ask him like, hey, can you pick this up at the store on your way home? And then it would turn into like a 15-minute conversation about something totally random, and he would constantly go back and forth into his bedroom and huffing and puffing and crying, and the emotional roller coaster was exhausting. And then I got a phone call on his way home from work telling me that a friend of ours was no longer allowed to be at our house or around the kids. I tried to ask questions. He told me just to trust him and believe him, and he hung up on me. Prior to that time, 3 weeks prior, I had asked him to get the utilities out of my name because I was trying to find my own place, and I couldn't afford anything. I didn't have a job. I was worried about how I was going to pay for my own place, more or less the electricity and gas and water from the house that we shared. And he wouldn't get the utilities out of my name. He would respond to me as, well, can't you just pay for 2? Why can't you pay for electricity you're using? And I'm like, I'm barely using anything. It's, the kids and you. And I can't afford to pay for 2 places. I couldn't. He was the one that was making a 6-figure income, and he's expecting so much of me that I just couldn't give. And so that Monday I had called and I had set the service to be shut off 2 days later, and that really angered him. But like, I couldn't just sit back and let him screw me over anymore. And so I gave him extra days so that he could get it done, and he was so mad at me about that. But I had to do what was best for me and the kids. So he gets home that night and he's angry and he's spiraling and getting so upset and just like slipping, just like mentally. And our son Josh came down the hall at one point and heard us arguing. Like, I was talking normally, but he was like spiraling. I didn't know what was going on, why he was so angry. And then he got upset that Josh was seeing us like that. We sent Josh back to the girls' room where they were watching a show trying to drown us out. And Eric started going on about his brother and how his brother used to see him and his dad fight. His mom and his dad fight and hide under the bed, and was kept, huffing and puffing and freaking out. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, you don't want to know, you don't want me to tell you, can't handle it. I'm like, what was happening? And it comes to find out that his brother had been sexually abusing our niece for, later we found out, for like 5 years, which has gutted me. And he wouldn't tell me anything else. And at that point, he takes his socks off his feet, the ones he'd been working all day in, and stretched them out and shut them in his mouth and trying to stop himself from screaming. And his eyes were wide and just manic, and I just was scared. And he then tells me to get out, that he's going to take a shower, so I leave. He almost crushes my foot in the door as I'm walking out. And as soon as I close the door, or he closes the door, he starts screaming the F word just over and over and over again, as loud as he can. And I stupidly go inside and I tell him to stop it. He's going to scare the kids, And he goes, okay. And he tries to calm down. I go back out and I go and I hang out with the kids and trying to calm down. And then he asks me to come back over, and he's spinning and erratic and just crazy. And they're just up and down and scary. And the next day, I sent him a message just reminding him, hey, don't forget about the utilities. He gets mad at me about that, telling me that I pooped in the middle of his house. I guess because I made a mess with changing the utilities, I guess. And he was calling me derogatory names and remarks and just spiraling and angry, and mentioned something about, like, if I wanted to burn down my house, go ahead, and he'll pull the ashes of my children out of my house and take them to his house. And at this point, like, I just had all alarm bells going off. And got the kids together and got them, and then they thought we were going to a park, and I snuck out like hampers of like their clean clothes that hadn't been put away yet. So we had clothes for them, and I grabbed some of my supplies. I'm type 1 diabetic, and my insulin, and just grabbed a few things, and we left. And we tried to get into the domestic violence shelter through Santa Placer, but it had a wait list, and with no idea how long it would take. A church gave us 3 nights in a hotel for us to figure things out. We found a place for the dogs to stay. And then we stayed at the hotel, and then my mother-in-law had invited us over to her house with the promise that her and her husband, which is Eric's dad, would not tell Eric where we were going, or where we were at their house. And so I trusted that, and I took the kids that Friday to their house, and it was stressful. Like, it was one of the hardest things I had to do, and emotional and scary, and being homeless without all of our things. We had to leave everything behind, and except for what I could fit in the Suburban. We did go back that night and got the dogs when we first left with the police escort and got a few things to sustain us, but you know, it was not near enough, but it was able to like clothe us and, you know, make up their supplies or whatever, special blankets. But you know, so we ended up doing that, going to their house, and then we were my oldest daughter had a visit with her biological dad that weekend. So that Saturday I drove them over to Sacramento area, and she had her visit. Didn't go well. And then Sunday we're going for the next visit, this weekend visit, and driving her to Sacramento. And then my daughter tells me, she's like, Mom, I saw Grandpa sending a picture of Josh to somebody. I think it was Eric. And I was like, what? And why would he do that? Like, you know, he was going to keep our location secret. He promised, you know. And then Josh, my 9-year-old, tells me how, yeah, Grandpa took a picture of me. I don't know why. I was just putting my shoes on. And then like 20 minutes after we had that conversation, I get a slew of texts from Eric saying, you know, all these random things. Like all of our conversations were him spiraling and saying a bunch of random things that didn't make sense in messages. And he'd call me and it'd be this spiral and roller coaster of emotions. And so he's messaging me like, you know, get out of the house now. You know, he was mad at his dad because his dad and stepmom had went over to the house that Monday night that we fled, or Tuesday night it was, trying to get him a 5150 because he was having a mental breakdown. And I guess, sorry, I got cut off. I guess that my mother-in-law and father-in-law were both having weird conversations with him days prior. So like all these things were coming out. And then I talked to his friends, Matt, and he also was having weird conversations and things that just didn't add up, didn't make sense. And so they were trying to get him a 5150 and get him medical help. But then that really upset Eric that they were doing that. And so he all of a sudden saw his dad as an enemy, that he was the sick one. And so that morning when he found out that I was there with his dad's house with the kids, he was telling me to get out, to go now with me and the kids, all of us, to take the house, and it was ours, and he wasn't going to be around, he was at church. And then proceeds to tell me how his father had beat them when he was drunk and had molested his brother and even got his brother drunk when he was like 8 or 10. I don't even know which one it is now because I've heard multiple stories at this point. But just that I needed to get out because he was the sick one. He wasn't safe. And so Sherry has her visit with her dad. Doesn't go well. Ends right away. And I go and pick her up. We go and drop the boys off with a friend. And then we go back to Penn Valley area to go and get all of our stuff out of their house and load everything up. And I had nowhere else to go. And I'm not close to a lot of my family. I cut ties with a lot of them years ago just because of their abuse and their manipulation as well, and unhealthy relations. And then my person is my grandmother, who is in St. George, Utah. And so, you know, we had nowhere else to go. So we made that 15-hour drive to St. George, Utah. And we've been here since. And beginning of May, Eric, calls me and tells me, that I have his blessing and his permission to move to St. George to be close to my grandmother. And he's going to go to Bible college to be a pastor and all this ridiculous things. And so after that, I started looking at rentals here in St. George, and we looked for a while and nothing was working out. Again, same issues. I didn't have a job. And we ended up finding a place from a lady who has been through a similar situation as us, and she gave us a chance, and it has been a huge blessing. It was furnished. We've got even down to the bed sizes. They're perfect for us. And I know God was in it 100,000%, and I'm so grateful for that. And I have definitely had to lean a lot on him, and really having faith and leaning on prayer, and just being faithful that he's got us, and acknowledging, that, and just getting through. I did get a restraining order because Eric was still being manic and crazy, and then demanding to know where the kids were. And I just, with his mental breakdown, didn't trust him with the kids. And so I just felt really unsafe with him. So we got a restraining order, especially with just our years of abuse from him, and then you throw on a mental breakdown in the middle of that. It just terrified me. And I got a restraining order. It took a long time to get that done. And then now like a week and a half ago, I had trial for custody and the restraining order, and I don't have an attorney because I can't afford one, and that's been really hard. And trial was rough. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I'm so grateful for the judge and his grace with me, and I'm proud of how I fought. I fought with dignity and did my best. I'm second guessing so many things and wishing I had this or that, but I did what I could, and I just hope that it is enough. And there's so much more little details and things, and maybe we'll go over that later, but it's been a rough road, and things that are in place that are supposed to be a help for us haven't been, and I'm really disappointed in the lack of resources and help for people in my situation. I was getting help for 2 months, I think it was, or a month and a half with TANF. But because I didn't get a job in time, they stopped helping me. I've struggled with my anxiety and depression and gave in and started Lexapro. And I am not one that likes medication, but it's been a godsend for me. Just getting through this hump, and just getting through this has been a lifesaver for me. And I can be more present and hear from the kids. I had to start the boys in public school, just because I couldn't mentally give them the energy that I needed to with that. And they're doing great with it. I had to pull Zach out because he was too young. I think he just turned 5, and it was a bit too much for him. But just we're making it through slowly but surely, one step at a time, and I'm so glad that we left. And I feel like the Lord knew the only way that I would get out of that toxic house was if I had to get booted out. And I was booted out. I literally had to run and protect my babies. And I'm grateful for all the support we have had. We've had friends and family just really step up and just step in, really, and just help us and bless us financially so that I can make this happen. I'm looking forward to our next chapter of healing and happiness. For years, the kids and I have been unhappy and living in toxic environments, and I'm really looking forward to us just thriving and glowing. I feel like we've been living in limbo with all the court stuff the last few months, and we find out on November 28th what the ruling will be for custody and restraining order. Eric's trying to get us to come be forced back to California, which will make us homeless. So I'm really hoping that the judge hears us on that trial was interesting. Eric lied. I think my most devastating thing is how much just Eric has been lying about everything and not taking ownership of all the things he's done to us. And I remember just sitting there in that courtroom and thinking, oh my gosh, like I thought you were better than this. Like I thought you were a better man than you are. And just really heart-wrenching to like pour into someone for so long and for them to just not give any credit to that, or it wasn't worth staying. It wasn't worth subjecting my kids to him longer than they should have been, and I should have left years before. It just got so bad to where my 9-year-old who is a big daddy's boy, like he really loves spending time with Eric, and begged me to move, to get away from Dad, that he didn't want to be around Dad anymore. And I thought that I was hiding it better, or I thought it was like my sacrifice as their mother to stay with Eric as long as I could, that way that they had both parents. And it was a sacrifice I was willing to carry, and as long as my kids were happy and safe. And then I realized that I was sacrificing my own happiness, trying to make the best for them, but they also were suffering. And yeah, I'm not one that like is pro-divorce, but I am one that is pro-healthy, and if you have a spouse that is not willing to do their part, acknowledge their part in things, it will never get better. It will never change, because if they're not fully committed to making the best of the situation, it won't change. It just won't. You can only do so much on your end, and people will tell you, work on yourself, and ultimately that's all you can do is work on yourself. But it goes both ways. If you have a spouse who's not willing to do his part in things or her part in things, I know this happens with women too, and men same, but if you have a spouse who's not willing to do his part, it won't get better. It won't improve. And you can strengthen yourself and build up yourself as much as you need, but for a relationship to work, it takes both sides. And I fought and I begged for years, which you shouldn't have to fight. You shouldn't have to beg for bare minimum, and I wasn't even getting bare minimum, and you deserve better. Plain and simple. Like, that's not a life worth living. And I hope that my story may help someone somewhere, give hope. There is light. We're making it happen. We're getting it through. My kids are thriving. They're happy. I get to hear them giggle. And, my 6-year-old daughter is trying her best to find joy in the little things again, and we're just, I'm trying to find ways to flourish and find things that bring joy to me, and self-care, which I've been so busy with a toxic relationship and 6 kids that there hasn't been time for me, and still I don't know how to do self-care. Please tell me. I cannot seem to figure it out, because self-care ends up me being on my phone, vegging out for whatever, like 30 minutes or whatever, just trying to decompress or whatever. But I have books, I have art, I just overthink and still filled with anxiety. Like my phone just distracts me in that. But I'm curious, what do you guys do? What do you guys do for self-help and self-care? And I want to hear your guys' stories. And you can message me, you can send me a video, you can send me a little blurb about what you're going through, what's helped you, what resources, I want my page to be a page that people can find hope in and light. So please share, comment down below, like your story, what's worked for you, and are there resources out there that maybe we're not familiar with that maybe it can be a help for someone who's needing to get out or leave, because you need all of them when you go. And sometimes you gotta just stop overthinking, stop letting yourself be locked down by fear, and just make the jump. I was always so fearful and second guessing myself. And then also, he would apologize and try and be better. And so it was like this constant yo-yo, just kind of holding me on just for a little longer, and just go, just jump, and if things are toxic and unhealthy and you are crying more than you are laughing, like, find help, get counseling. If you need medication, take it. Like, it doesn't have to be forever, just for a small moment. Just get the help. Just take it. We have this one life to live, and it shouldn't suck. It shouldn't be so painful. Life can be beautiful, and I'm still trying to figure all that out. But like, getting on the medication and getting counseling, like, has really helped me see beautiful again. To slow down and enjoy those beautiful moments. And being a single mom without getting financial help from their dad and stressing about money all the time really sucks the life out of things. But I'm really trying to slow down and enjoy those little beautiful moments. And so please just share your story with us. And if you need to talk, reach out. I'll be happy to talk. If you need help or guidance with resources, I can share what I know. If you want to send your story and are okay with me sharing it on my channel, I would love that. I would love to have my channel filled with other people's stories, not just my own, because I'm sure you guys will get kind of sick of listening to mine all the time. So please reach out. Let's speak up. Because I think that so many of us are sitting in pain quietly, thinking that we're the problem. And I think that if we do just speak up and out and put our foot down and be like, no, I'm not doing this anymore, and realize that it's not you, that it's the problem, that we can rise. And I think sometimes we're so quiet because we do think it's our problem. We don't, and we're embarrassed that our home isn't working, embarrassed that we're going through those things. We don't want people to know what happens behind closed doors, but in reality, I think it's happening to a lot of us, and I think we need to speak out. We need to speak up. We need to speak against this, because staying quiet is just like we're going with the whatever and allowing it to happen. And also, your story could help someone profusely in those awful situations. And we need all the help we can get in this dark world. So comment below, send me your story if you want to send me your story. On Instagram, I'll put a question bubble. I'll figure it out how to get that going. But, if you guys want to share your stories so that I can share them with others, so that we can see that we're not the problem. That what we're going through is not okay. It's not normal. And we need to talk about it. Bye.